You think your bad spending habits are your fault. You think it is just a lack of personal discipline. You believe that because you are highly educated, earn a good salary, and physically choose to swipe your credit card, you are in absolute control of your financial decisions. You are completely wrong. Right now, Wall Street banks, tech monopolies, and retail corporations spend over $200 billion a year on neuromarketing. But they are not using that capital to sell you better products. They are using that money to finance a direct, highly calculated attack on your brain's dopamine receptors. When a multi-billion-dollar corporation engineers your physical and digital environment to intentionally trigger your primitive survival instincts, you are no longer a consumer making a free choice. You are a biological puppet. And today, I'm going to expose exactly how the system pulls the strings. In the next few minutes, we are going to break down the hidden reason why intelligent, high-earning people stay perpetually broke. You will understand the clinical neuroscience of consumption. You will see how the financial system decoupled the biological pain of paying from the pleasure of buying. You will learn how algorithms weaponize your evolutionary biology. You will discover the terrifying reality of decision fatigue and why corporations track your sleep schedule to steal your money. And finally, you will learn the exact protocols the wealthy use to build defensive friction against this system. Pause and write this down right now. You do not have a budgeting problem. You have a biological vulnerability, and Wall Street is exploiting it for profit. If you do not understand the clinical science of this attack, you will remain poor forever. Let us start by dismantling the greatest lie the financial industry ever told the middle class, the myth of willpower. Society teaches you that building wealth is simply a matter of making logical choices. Spend less than you earn, save the difference, invest consistently. It sounds mathematically perfect, but human beings do not operate on mathematics. We operate on neurochemistry. Here is the brutal biological reality. Your brain was not designed to build generational wealth. Your brain evolved over millions of years in an environment of extreme scarcity for one specific purpose: immediate survival. In a primitive world, if you found high-calorie food or a comfortable shelter, you consumed it immediately. Your brain rewarded you with a massive spike of dopamine, the chemical of pleasure, motivation, and reinforcement. This survival mechanism kept your ancestors alive. But in the modern financial system, this exact same mechanism is the reason you have a negative net worth. Corporations know that your prefrontal cortex, the logical, forward-thinking, analytical part of your brain, is slow. It consumes massive amounts of glucose and energy to calculate long-term consequences. But your amygdala, the primitive emotional center, is lightning fast. It demands immediate relief, instant pleasure, and instant consumption. The entire modern economy is specifically engineered to bypass your logical brain and directly stimulate your primitive brain. To prove this, we have to look at clinical MRI scans. Neuroscientists conducted experiments where they placed consumers inside magnetic resonance imaging machines and simulated the experience of buying products. What they discovered inside those brain scans fundamentally changed how corporations extract money from the public. When a person sees a product they desire, the pleasure centers of the brain light up instantly. Dopamine floods the nervous system in anticipation of the reward. But when that same person is shown the price tag, a completely different region of the brain activates. It is called the insula. The insula is the exact same part of the human brain that registers physical pain. When you touch a hot stove, your insula fires. When you break a bone, your insula fires. And when you have to hand over physical cash to buy something, your insula fires. The system identified the obstacle. Neurologically speaking, spending money literally hurts. This biological pain was nature's defense mechanism against reckless resource depletion. For centuries, this pain kept people out of massive debt. You had to physically count the paper money, feel the texture of the bills leave your hands, and watch your stack of resources visually shrink. The physical pain of paying naturally regulated human consumption. It forced your prefrontal cortex to wake up and ask, is this actually worth it? But Wall Street realized that if they wanted to achieve infinite corporate growth, they had to eliminate the pain of paying. They had to mathematically separate the dopamine of acquiring a product from the physical pain of losing resources. And their ultimate weapon was the credit card. A credit card is not a financial tool, it is a neurological anesthetic. When you swipe a piece of plastic or tap your smartphone against a screen, your insula does not activate. Your brain does not register a loss because the physical object, the plastic card or the phone, is returned right back to your hand a second later. You get the immediate, intense dopamine spike of the purchase, but the biological pain is delayed by 30 days until the monthly bill arrives. By the time that bill arrives, the dopamine has entirely worn off. You are left with the financial hangover, but your brain fails to connect the pain of the bill to the pleasure of the purchase. This decoupling of action and consequence is why highly intelligent, educated people accumulate $50,000 in high-interest consumer debt. They are not stupid. They have just been chemically anesthetized by the banking system. But the banks and retailers did not stop at plastic cards. In the last decade, they combined financial anesthesia with algorithmic targeting to create the ultimate wealth extraction machine, the digital casino. This is where you lose all control. Think about how you navigate the modern digital world. Every application on your phone, every social media feed, and every online marketplace is designed by behavioral psychologists who are paid millions of dollars to hijack your attention span. They use a concept called variable ratio scheduling. It is the exact same psychological mechanism used in casino slot machines. When you scroll through a feed, you do not know what you are going to see next. It might be boring, it might be funny, or it might be highly engaging. This uncertainty causes your brain to release more dopamine in anticipation than it does during the actual reward. You are put into a state of neurological hyperarousal. Your primitive brain is fully activated, searching for the next hit. And right at the peak of that dopamine surge, the algorithm inserts a highly targeted advertisement for a product you briefly searched for 3 days ago. The system knows exactly when you are neurologically vulnerable. And because of saved credit card information, biometric facial recognition payments, and one-click purchasing, there is absolutely zero friction between the manufacturer's desire and the completed transaction. Friction is the time it takes for your logical prefrontal cortex to catch up with your emotional amygdala. In the past, if you wanted to buy something, you had to drive to a physical store, locate the item, wait in a long line, and hand over cash. That friction gave your brain 30 minutes to calculate if the purchase was actually a good idea. Today, that friction has been reduced to a single fingerprint scan. You go from an emotional trigger to a completed financial transaction in less than 3 seconds. The system has weaponized convenience. They sell you convenience as a luxury lifestyle, but in reality, convenience is just the systematic removal of the very friction that protects your net worth. When you owe Wall Street thousands of dollars in high-interest debt, you are funding their global expansion. Your lack of impulse control pays for their private jets, their marble boardrooms, and their political lobbying. You trade your hours, your stress, and your life energy to service the interest on purchases that you do not even remember making. But even if you understand the credit card trap, and even if you avoid the digital casino, there is a fourth biological mechanism that the system uses to break you. It is the most insidious tactic of all because it attacks you when you cannot fight back. It is the weaponization of ego depletion. You are the target of a biological clock. Psychologists use the term ego depletion to describe a very specific phenomenon: decision fatigue. Your willpower is not a personality trait. It is a finite cognitive resource heavily dependent on the glucose levels in your brain. Every single time you make a decision during the day, what to wear, how to respond to an email, how to navigate traffic, how to handle a crisis at work, you burn through that cognitive fuel. By the time you finish an 8-hour workday and commute home, your prefrontal cortex is completely exhausted. Your executive function shuts down to conserve energy. You enter a state of biological vulnerability. The tech monopolies and data brokers know exactly what time you wake up. They know exactly what time you commute, and they know exactly what time your willpower collapses. This is why the vast majority of impulse purchases, food delivery orders, and online shopping sprees occur between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. They do not attack your logic at 10 in the morning when you are rested and sharp. They wait until the evening. They wait until your cognitive shields are down, your logical brain is exhausted, and your amygdala is desperately craving a quick hit of dopamine to soothe the stress of the day. They hit you with targeted ads for luxury items, streaming rentals, and frictionless food delivery right when you are biologically incapable of resisting. Telling someone to rely on willpower in a hyper-engineered consumer environment is like telling someone to rely on willpower while walking through a casino with a pocket full of chips. You will lose every single time. By the end of the day, you are defenseless. And the most cynical part of this entire architecture is how the corporate media blames you for failing. They publish endless articles about how the middle class lacks financial discipline. They tell you to skip the daily coffee. They tell you to make a spreadsheet. They push the narrative of personal responsibility to completely mask the reality of systemic, multi-billion-dollar neurological manipulation. If you want to escape this biological trap, you cannot fight it with willpower. Willpower is for amateurs. The only way to survive and build actual generational wealth is to adopt the defensive protocols of the elite. You must completely restructure your environment to introduce engineered friction. The wealthy do not have more willpower than you. They simply do not rely on it. They construct strict financial systems that protect them from their own neurochemistry. It is time to rebuild the walls. The first elite protocol is severing the frictionless connection. This means going into your phone, your browser, and every single retail application, and permanently deleting every saved credit card. If you want to purchase an item online, you must be forced to physically stand up, walk to another room, find your physical wallet, type in the 16-digit number, and input the security code. That minor physical friction introduces a time delay. It breaks the hypnotic spell of the algorithm. It is just enough time to allow your prefrontal cortex to wake up and ask a single, crucial question. Do I actually need this, or am I just stressed and exhausted? The second protocol is instituting a mandatory dopamine fast for capital deployment. Any non-essential purchase over a specific threshold, whether it is $100 or $1,000, must be subjected to a strict 72-hour waiting period. You can put the item in the digital cart, but you are absolutely forbidden from executing the transaction for 3 days. During those 72 hours, the artificial dopamine spike crashes. The algorithmic manipulation wears off. If you still logically want the item after 3 days, you buy it. But 90% of the time, you will look at the digital cart and feel absolutely nothing. You will realize that you never actually wanted the product. Your primitive brain just wanted the chemical release of the transaction. The third protocol is reintroducing the pain of paying. If you struggle with chronic overspending and impulse control, you must abandon the neurological anesthetic entirely. You must return to physical cash or strict debit systems that instantly deduct from a finite visible balance. When you force your brain to witness the immediate depletion of your resources, your insula activates. The biological pain regulates the behavior. You stop operating in a dangerous fantasy of unlimited credit and return to the brutal, undeniable reality of mathematics. The global financial system is perfectly designed to extract your wealth by bypassing your logic. They have spent decades and billions of dollars mapping the deepest vulnerabilities of the human brain. They know exactly how to trigger your insecurities, manufacture artificial desires, eliminate the barriers to your capital, and attack you when your willpower is depleted. As long as you believe that your spending is purely a matter of personal choice, you will remain entirely blind to the invisible architecture controlling your life. You will continue to trade your time on earth to enrich the institutions that engineered your poverty, but the moment you recognize the biological game being played against you, the illusion shatters. You realize that true financial discipline is not about depriving yourself of pleasure or living like a miser. It is about refusing to let a multi-billion-dollar corporation dictate your neurochemistry. While the 99% scroll mindlessly through their phones, clicking buy now buttons to temporarily soothe their anxiety, you choose to build friction. While the middle class finances luxury items to feel wealthy today, you ruthlessly protect your capital to guarantee your absolute freedom tomorrow. That is not just financial literacy, that is psychological dominance. And it is the only way to beat a system that was perfectly designed to keep you broke. If you want to understand the invisible mechanics designed to extract your wealth, master the true psychology of money, and stop living as a target for Wall Street, subscribe to this channel. Protect your mind, choose your game.